whatever religion you are does not matter. You are part of a cosmic, divine family of love. And the message has been and will always be that of love, to treat others as you would treat yourself, because they are you in one way or another. To forgive others, for they do not know what they do, for they are in the illusion. You have a choice. You can choose love, you can choose family, you can choose creative energies, and this is the choice that is upon humanity again.
Adrian, welcome to the Celestevolve podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This is great.
So my first question for you today, what was your life like before this magical world of channeling started?
Yeah, so my life before the channeling started, for me at least, I thought it was very normal. I'm a tech sort of founder. I've ran a bunch of different tech companies. Those tech companies have led me around the world and provided a very good income for me and a good living for me. So, before the channeling, I was really just focused on work. And it was sort of almost like a workaholic. I wasn't very spiritual. I did believe in God, but that was about it. It was about as far as my spiritual practice went. About 6 months before the pandemic, I had an experience that led to an awakening, that led to some abilities I didn't know I had, let's call it. And it just sort of blew my world open. And I started learning about, I was trying to figure out what was happening to me, because I didn't really have any context. I didn't come from that religious background or a deep spiritual background. But I was having these very deep spiritual experiences that just kept expanding. It's been shocking for me, to be honest.
It's still shocking for you?
It's still shocking to me. And every time I channel or every time I have an experience, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really happening,
Had you heard of channeling before this?
I had not heard of channeling. I did not know what channeling was. It wasn't a spiritual upbringing. I was baptized. I come from more a Christian background. Things like that, we go to church every day, but it wasn't some big thing in my life at the moment.
You said something happened and then you started channeling, right? You had an experience. Mm-hmm. Do you know what led to it?
It was about 6 months before the pandemic. I can sort of see some things leading up to it, but at the time I was super oblivious.
You ignored the synchronicities and the angel numbers and everything.
I had no idea. It was 6 months before I had this experience, I started having things change. I was building out an office in South America. One of my coworkers, one of my executives was vegan and was doing a lot of yoga, and we had a corporate condo. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool, man. So I started becoming vegan. I was doing all this yoga with him and meditating. I downloaded Headspace, and I was like, yeah, I'm stressed out. I should do some meditation, And so I had been meditating. I wasn't having any crazy experiences, but suddenly I was getting really healthy and stuff, That was going on for maybe 6 months before. And then I was back in the United States. I was still meditating, still doing all that stuff. Somebody that came into my life and was talking a lot about third eyes and chakras and all these things that I had no idea about. And in all honesty, at the time, I just didn't believe any of it. It's just a bunch of nonsense. And
I thought you had to believe it to get the frequency or something. You didn't do anything.
Yeah, I was totally not into it. This person would just talk and talk and talk, and it was like a house guest I had. And so I was like, okay, so let's maybe we should watch a show about this or something, just because, I'd work so much, and then I get off work. I only have a few hours before I go to bed and start over again back in that time. So we're watching some show on Gaia, and I downloaded something to be like, hey, maybe we can watch something. And they were talking about aliens and the energies and all kinds of crazy stuff. At one point, they were talking about AI in space, some crazy thing, right? And at one point, I had raised a lot of money to build an AI first company back before anyone knew anything about it. I was watching this guy and I was like, somehow this guy's not lying. He definitely knows something about tech. He definitely knows something about AI. And this was, 4 years ago before the pandemic really started. And this show was filmed 5 years before that. And he was talking about stuff that was super advanced, that at that time, there was just a handful of us that really knew stuff about these things, I was like, there's no way this guy's making this up. So suddenly that caught my attention. All kinds of stuff, but this part, no. I was like...
Because he's talking tech, something that you know of. Yeah, he was
talking some tech stuff, and I knew. No, this guy's... He's onto something. And he said that there was a book written by ETs, and I was like, how's an ET write a book, man? And it was the Law of One, So I Googled this, and I was like, wanted to call BS on it. And so I ordered the book on Amazon. I was like, okay, cool, I'll read it. Let's see. And then I was reading this book, and halfway through the book, I was like, this is pretty sketchy, like, I don't know, but it felt weird. And so that's how it started. And then I had one experience because I was reading this book, and that was the first exposure I had to anything that was channeled, because before that I didn't even know what that meant, and then as I was reading this, I was like, okay, if they were doing this back in the 80s, they must still be doing it, so I Googled it, and I found like some YouTube videos of people channeling, and I found like some show on Gaia with some people channeling, and I was watching this stuff. During one of this episodes I was watching on Gaia, there was like a lady channeling an archangel. I was like, okay, whatever. It's just another aliens, angels, whatever. I don't know the difference. And she was channeling this archangel. And suddenly in the middle of that, I had this huge experience. It felt like a bomb went off in my head. I saw like flashes of like all these lifetimes, some of them here, some of them not in a body, some that felt angelic, some in the future, some in the past. I mean, it was just like overwhelming. I was like crying. I was in my apartment with, this coworker, really? My partner at the time, and like it was inconsolable. It was just so emotional. It was like It was like a remembrance, and it was like a lot of remembrance all at once. After that, I didn't really know what happened, but the next day I had been meditating every morning. And the next day I went into meditation. I was just like listening to like Headspace with headphones. I wasn't doing any like crazy meditations. But that day I was almost upset, and I like put the headphones down, and I was like, yo, angels, like, let's cut the crap. I know you talk to people, apparently. So like what today,
what more, they wanted to prove it to you.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? Like enough. Let's just cut to the chase, And I had this booming voice, and I felt this energy that came through my body, and I was like, I was vibrating suddenly, and I never felt anything like that. I was vibrating, and this voice just said, "You are loved," and then I was like, okay, well, okay, now what, and that was it. That was all I got, and then there was nothing, and I was like asking questions, and no, so then I was just vibrating. And so that went on for months. So every time I would channel, I would start, or not channel, just meditate, I would start vibrating. And I wouldn't get anything, or I was just vibrating for a few months. I came back to the States because I was always flying back and forth between an office I had in Chile and Scottsdale, Arizona. Actually, the next time I was in the US, I went for a hike up in Sedona, and it's more like a spiritual spot. And I would always go up there for hikes, but nothing spiritual, And so this time, I had that experience. I was like vibrating for months. I didn't know what was going on. I read some crazy book that probably, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have read this. And then I went to go see one of these people, I was like, okay, well, let's see like a psychic or a channeler or something, And I just walked into a place, and it said like, there was a channeler on the board. And I was like, yeah, I want that. Because, I really didn't know anything about it. And this woman, I was like, hey, I had this experience. I want to talk to my guides. Like, go for it. And so she started talking to me, and I felt all the energy, and this woman like, got all sort of weird like channelers do, and told me all about my life. I had a near-death experience when I was like 20, totally died.
In this lifetime?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I'd never
lifetime.
told anyone about, and I woke up in the ER, and I was watching the doctors work on me, and it was pretty traumatizing. And so like, I'd never said a word about it. I mean, like nobody knew. And, they were like, yeah, we're angels. We're with you. We were there when you died, when you're 20. And like, we've been waiting for you to wake up. And I was just like, I couldn't handle it, So I was like, again, very emotional and like, oh my God. And this is very out of character for me, And so after that, like, it was just like a 15-minute session. I couldn't believe it. And so then I went to go see another channeler, and another one, and they all kept saying the same thing. At some point, I was like, okay, something is definitely happening here. I don't know what's up. I'm still vibrating.
You're vibrating 24/7, like
just
the whole
when I would
time?
meditate. So every time I would meditate, I feel my body sort of lock up, and I'd feel this energy really strong in my body, and I didn't know what it was. It was almost like twitching, and like, I thought maybe I had some kind of disease, but it just started that day when I had that, you're a loved message. And so that was like the whole precursor of it. I started to seek because I had that experience. So that was like a whole 6-month period. And then it was about 6 months before the pandemic. I was meditating in my apartment in Scottsdale. I was suddenly like taking to what I would consider like a spaceship. And I was like right in the middle of the day. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was sort of funny. In one of these like channeling sessions I had before where I was like going to see like psychics and stuff because I was trying to figure out what was going on with me. There was a lady that like showed me how to meditate. She was like holding my hand and she's like, look, I'm going to send some energy to your third eye and you're going to see what I see. And I was like, but I did. I saw like these like outlines of like what looked like sort of blue lighted people. They looked like people, but like light. And she's like, these are your guides and all this stuff. And she said, like, your whole life has been this one-way connection. Like, they see everything that you do, but you don't see or remember anything. And they're like, at some point, that's going to get corrected. And that one-way connection is going to be a two-way connection. And I had no idea what she was talking about. But then it was like a couple of weeks later, I was meditating, and I saw those blue people again, those sort of light people. I was like, oh, maybe I'm making this up. Maybe this is happening. And so I was like, talk to them. And they're like, you can't, they sent me some kind of message telepathically, like, you can't really talk to us. And I was like, why not? And they're like, your energy. And I was like, can you fix it? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, can you fix it now? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, do I have to do anything? They're like, no. And so I was just sitting there waiting for something to happen. And then I just started laughing at myself. I'm like, okay, I'm totally making this up. Meditating, you know? And then went and got a glass of water and was starting to forget about it. And to sit on my couch, and as soon as I did, I felt this huge, like almost like when you hit your elbow and it's like buzzing. I felt that, like, my whole body instantly, and then it was like I was gone. And I was standing in this white room that was massive, and it was like an oval almost, and it was like light was coming from everywhere. And I was super confused because I didn't connect any dots. I had no idea what was going on, and it was crystal clear. It was more real than this. I was just like, I didn't understand anything, you know? It's like when something like that sort of happens, I wasn't prepared for it. So I was just standing there like shocked. And it like this door opened up in the wall, and it was like this woman came up to me who looked human, you know, very beautiful. And she was wearing like a one-piece suit, you know? It was like, didn't make any sense. And she had a big smile on her face, and she came up and was like, hey, Adrian, I'm going to help you with your energy and like chakras and all this stuff. I was like, what are you talking about? And then she came up behind me and gave me a hug, which also didn't make any sense. And as soon as she did that, I saw what looked like this huge box of light open up right in front of me. Like as soon as she touched me, there's this huge big box of light, and she let me go. And I went right through it. And suddenly I was like flying through like this tunnel of light. I didn't have a body or anything. And it was like the craziest experience. It was like maybe 5-10 seconds. And it felt like you were getting sucked through a vacuum cleaner. Like there was a physical sensation of like literally flying through space, like a Star Trek or something. You know, it was just like, it was super crazy. And I was like freaking out. And then it just stopped. And I was laying on this table, like it was like a huge table, and I was sort of small on the table, and there was like these huge beams of light that were probably twice my size, and they were all around me, and it was so bright I could barely see them. Like it didn't feel like I was in my body or I was looking at them through physical eyes. It was just bright light, and you could sort of make out the outlines of them. And I was like, is this really happening? And they were like, yes, this is happening. And I like it. Then I was terrified. As soon as I had that like confirmation, I mean, I freaked out. And as soon as I freaked out, it was over. And like, boom, I was back on my couch, and I was shaking. I thought, okay, maybe I had a seizure. Like, who knows? Like, maybe I'm, you know, I still hadn't ruled out that I have a problem. You know what I mean? I was having I just didn't want to say anything. I was like, maybe I got problems. And I was like, now like feeling like I had, you know, some kind of medical event because it was so overwhelming, the feeling in my body. And so I just sat there and drank water, and then it went away. And then I was like, okay, like what's going on? And so I went to meditate, and there were the blue guys again. But this time they were a lot clearer, and I could talk to them. So that's how it started. They're like, yes, we took you, and like, you know, it's okay. And I'm like, then I had a million questions. And
was it daylight?
Yeah, it was like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday.
Bashar said that you're going to do this open contact and you're going to meet the aliens. And I'm like, yes, we're going to do it. And then my friend said that when her first thing, she was in her bedroom at night, and then she saw this lady standing there. Like she said, it was a Pleiadian, and they were standing there, and then she freaked out. But then it was just, they were so unconditional loving. You can feel the love come out of them. And that is when she gets emotional. She's like, when she talks about it, she gets emotional talking about it. Like, if you're getting freaked out, how did you have the courage to keep doing it?
Well, I mean, I'm a pretty curious guy, and that's why I'm in tech. And
Hmm.
why, I build stuff and create software and things, So I was definitely freaked out, but it didn't feel bad. Like it felt very, very loving. And the thing that struck me is like when I saw the woman that approached me at first, I felt like I've known her. Like the way that she smiled at me, it was almost like almost like, do you
Finally, we
remember
meet
me?
again,
Like,
bro.
yeah. It was just like it was that smile of like, I know you. And it was like, oh, what? So like suddenly I was like super curious, and I was like, okay, this is like crazy stuff. But like, if this is, there's two possibilities. This is not happening, and I've lost the plot. Like,
Mm.
and I got serious,
Yeah, good lost.
right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's a whole nother issue. Like, that's gonna be bad. Or this is actually happening, which means I know nothing about anything. And if that's true, like I better find out. What happened was like I had this experience, and then I was like meditating a lot, talking to these beings, but then whatever they did like blew me open psychically. I was like suddenly like super sensitive. I was seeing crazy stuff. I was having crazy
Mm.
dreams. I was remembering many lifetimes, not all of them pleasant. I was getting scared. That was like a lot for me. So I was like
Yeah.
going to try to understand. I wanted to talk to my guides. All I knew was like these maybe guys were my guides, but I was perceiving many things. I had a regression from Barbara Lamb. I ran into her in LA, and I was like, yo, I had this crazy experience. I want whatever you do. Cause, it was still, I didn't know what was happening. I had a regression with her, and I showed up on the ship. And that was actually the first time I channeled. I went back up there, and they're like, hey, this isn't the past. This is happening now. We want to talk to Barbara. We sort of arranged this whole thing, which blew my
Mm.
mind. And some things happened, but they showed me around the ship. I was there for like almost an hour. That's where I saw some more beings that looked like your typical grays and things like that, but they weren't. They were Arcturian.
Mm.
Very quickly, they explained what was going on. They're like, look, there's Arcturians that are beings of light. There's Arcturians who look human. There's Arcturians that are on Earth who are human. And there's Arcturians that look like these grays, and they say we inhabit all these different body types, and that's what souls do. It's just the way it works. There's not a big difference
Mm.
between anybody, really. And like that was the moment I stopped believing in aliens. I'm like, there's life, and there's just life, and there's all kinds of life, and done. Like I don't even know what's going on out there, but it's pretty much everything from what I can tell.
Mm.
The grays are like sort of a container. They're like that, but these ones were ensouled, so they had Arcturian souls, and they were there to control the ship, which also had a soul. It was like super crazy. So they're like,
The consciousness, right?
yeah. So they're like,
Yeah.
we're all Arcturian, and this is Arcturian technology, and there's Arcturians who volunteer to be the ship and to be the technicians on the ship, and they're linked to the ship. And there's ones that look like you, so they can interact with humans. I mean, it was like complicated. I was like, they were like, we're all here, we're doing it, and there's other races doing it too, and it's just all kinds of stuff going on. That was like super shocking for me. I went through this period of where I was trying to figure out what was going on. I was still meditating, but at one point it was almost too overwhelming, and I
Mm.
went to go
Mm.
see that original lady that sort of told me this was going to happen, and I was like, yo, it happened, and I'm freaking out. And like I can't
Mm.
live like this, I'm like psychic. I'm like I meet a person, I can hear their thoughts, and I know there's no way I can operate as a CEO like this, like just make it up, turn it off. And she's like, look, Adrian, this is not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And she's like, look, there's a place that you need to go, and they're going to teach you how to control it. And she's like, it's like a mystery school, a secret school. It's called Delphi, and you need to go right now. And I had meetings and flights, and I was like, there's no way I can go anywhere right
Yeah.
now. I was like, no, you need to go now. And so I jumped on a plane, and I went out to this place in Georgia, like I think 2 days later, the next day. It was this mystery school out in the middle of the forest in Georgia called Delphi, and it's like on 300 acres, got pyramids and stuff. And they're like, yeah, bring white. You're gonna dress in white and go to the pyramid on the first day. And I was like, oh God, I'm in a cult, like that whole thing.
Tech
And
guy.
yeah, I was like, I'm in deep now, like I'm in way deep. And so I went and I did it, and there were people that were like super open spiritually and same as me in some ways. And I was in like this class of about maybe 10 people, and they opened us up and they showed us how to close it all down and sort of taught me how to turn it off so I could turn it on when I want to channel, and I could turn off when I want to be normal, and I wouldn't see or experience anything. And so that was for me like huge. So it was like 8 days, basically explained everything that was going on. That way I didn't feel super crazy. And there was other people having experiences, and they're like, yeah, it's normal, but it's not normal because most people don't know about it or don't have these experiences. But it's not anything crazy. It's just some people have that.
When did you decide to come out and tell the people, tell the world that this is what you do?
I didn't want anyone to know for like 2, maybe 3 years, because it was like super overwhelming. I was like going through it. Like I had raised a lot of like money for my companies and had a lot of employees and stuff. And I didn't want anyone to think I was crazy. What was crazy about it is like when I had this experience, the first thing that they told me was like, look, they're going to lock the world down in January. And it's going to last 2 years. And then when people come out of that, they're going to start to wake up, which will take another couple of years. And then it's going to accelerate until 2030. And the world won't be the same. And they sort of told me all this stuff. It was like now a couple of years in the pandemic, and everything that they had told me was exactly as they told me.
Yeah.
And that is when I was like, look, if this is like, I've seen enough. I had a bunch of other experiences after that to like say, this is really happening. I was a big doubter, to be honest, big, so I'd almost preferred to be crazy than this is true kind of thing. I kept having experiences, and people close to me had some experiences too. So I was like, okay, this is definitely happening. And now what they told me was true. And, okay, maybe I should say something, And so at first I did it. I started Awaken World, like a website, and put the channel messages there, and then I started doing some stuff on Instagram, when I have free time. So it's been like that, so I would start channeling. And I was channeling privately for people, and for groups in Sedona. And then I started getting hired by really high level CEOs to do the channel for those groups.
Really?
Yeah. And,
CEOs of companies?
big companies.
Like tech companies? They hire channelers.
Yeah. So
For what?
they want to know. They want to know what's going on. There's actually what's really crazy, like I had no idea, is that a lot of high level people are awakening and they just don't want to talk about it. They're doing ayahuasca and they're going to these retreats and then these crazy experiences, and then they don't know what happened. It's just crazy. So I was invited sort of like secretly to go speak to a lot of these CEOs. And so every now and then I would do that. So that's sort of what's been happening.
Do they try to ask you, how's the stocks going to be? What do they ask you?
Not so much. They're just more concerned about like what's really happening. They want to know what's going to happen, a lot of them.
One of the things that people who follow me on Instagram ask is the same thing. Like, what if you're speaking to bad beings? How do you even know you're speaking to someone good?
I mean, that's like a super real question. And so for me, I think that stuff does exist. I think there is light and dark. I think that when you're out there channeling, you sort of don't have a lot of awareness. So you could be talking to almost anything. I think that's a real thing, to be honest. And for me, when I first started channeling, I was connecting with almost anything in the very, very beginning. And that's what scared me. Like, I didn't like it. I like these blue guys. They were cool. But all this other stuff I was encountering scared me a little bit, because some of it was beautiful, some of it was scary, some of it I didn't understand. So, that school I went to in Delphi really helped me hone that, sort of align that more spiritual practice of tuning to God and tuning to like what I believe is divinity and the divine infrastructure, which is very important. After the school, before I started doing this stuff, I was meditating for 2 hours a day, and I was going to another realm, and I was walking with these masters and angels, and I could see them, talk to them. It's very, very real. That for 2 years before I opened my mouth and talked to anybody,
Have you spoken with God?
I've seen God before. Yes.
You've seen God.
Twice.
Yeah.
And it was the most beautiful thing ever. And so I don't know how it is, if it's different for everybody, but for me, it was very stereotypical. It was like this huge guy. He looked like the size of a skyscraper, and it was just bliss. And I was like tiny, and I was like looking at this dude. He said one thing. Like, I was just overwhelmed with like bliss and joy, and like I was just like, oh my God. And what led to that experience is I was, as I was like doing these meditations and I was like sort of traveling to these realms, at first it was the Arcturians, and then it was some other like sort of ascended masters. Then it was like Jesus and angels, and it was like escalating, at some point. And then it was archangels, and this, over a couple of years. And at one point it was the archangels, it was like Michael. And I was like, why are things like so messed up here? They were trying to explain duality and all this stuff. And I was like, I wasn't buying it, I was like, it's too crazy down there.
I don't trust you.
Yeah, I'm not buying this. And then they're like, okay, come with us. And they took me to a higher place. And then I saw this being, which I assume is God. And he was blissed out. And I was just like feeling, I never felt anything like that before. I was like, oh my God. And I was staring at him, and like this being like looked at me, and his eye was like, huge. It was like this big eye like looked at me. And as soon as he did, he just laughed and he said, it's good, isn't it? And like, and as soon as he said that, it was like, I understood everything. It was like a download. It was like duality. We need it. No white ink on white paper. Like, doesn't make any sense. Come on, man. It was just like obvious. I was like, oh yeah. If you say it like that, it's great, man. And that was it, And then they brought me back down, and I was like mind blown.
Now, if I ask you what happens after death, what do you think after we die then?
Yeah, you keep living. There's no death. There's just life. And that sounds a little crazy, but from my experience, and I've had some other experiences since this awakening, where I was taken to where the majority of people are. They're not here. They're still on Earth, but they're on a different frequency, let's call it. And there's more people there than there are here. It feels more real there than it does here. Most people are dead. They're not alive in the third dimension, if you think about it.
Oh, that's right.
And they're still living. And
that's right.
When you sort of see that, like there is something when you die, you go through some layers, like, and depends on your consciousness and depends how you feel about things. You're sort of guided, hopefully some family or an angel or somebody comes to sort of guide you through that process. But it's only sort of remember. And then very quickly you're in another place that's still, for the majority of humans, still Earth. And your friends and family are there, and it is real. And it's just as solid as this. It feels exactly like this.
And it's just from one party to another party.
Yeah. And things change a bit there, and and there's a little bit more remembering, but you're still sort of under the veil. And that's what's changing. Like, it's not just the third dimension or this, where we are on the Earth that's changing. It's also the afterlife is changing. It's all changing. So that veil is, you don't get enlightened when you die. You're still, and you're confused. Right. And very quickly someone's like, hey, it's okay. You're still alive, and then there's an orientation and there's a life that happens and there's a remembrance that comes. But you're not like remembering the cosmic universe and everything. You're still sort of in the human realm. So it's, there are experiences that are sort of negative and stuff like that, but you have to be in that state. And I think some of the biggest disservices that we've done to humans is scare the shit out of them. Religions and everything else. And so when they die, they're like completely freaked out. Right. So that's when you're sort of going to have a bad experience. Because as soon as you transition between like this world, which is very solid, there's sort of a not so solid place until you go to that solid place. And what you believe will be manifested. You'll see your fears and things like that if they're strong enough. And so I think that's the scary thing that people talk about, and that maybe inspired some of these sort of darker stories in religion and things like that. I don't think they're based on nothing. They had some real experiences, but they came from fear. And so when you talk about the channelers that have sort of seen the whole thing and like remembered it all, we're very against like fear. Like, we don't want to scare you. It doesn't really matter what happens on Earth because you live forever and forever. It's like eternity is something hard to wrap your head around.
It scares people as well when you say you're going to keep it's eternal. Your soul, you're an eternal being.
Which is also
it scares people?
A lot. It scares me.
It scares you.
Yeah, eternity is a big thing. What does forever feel like? I mean, what if you get tired? What if I'm exhausted, man? Do I really want another job somewhere, another planet? Like, no. Like this was a lot. Like, I don't want to do it again. So I think sometimes, you have those feelings, and then when you really have to face the fact that this is true in some way, then the question becomes, at least for me, is like, okay, so what does that mean? What's that like? When am I going to take a big nap? Because I want a break, like I want answers. And that's just like, okay, well, I better learn how to channel because I want to talk to these guys because I got a million questions like everybody. And so that's what led to it, is my own curiosity. And then later it was like, to channel for others or to bring down messages or to let people know sort of what's going to happen in some ways so they don't get scared when it starts to happen would be probably nice for people.
What are some of the things that they are saying is going to happen next in the coming 5 years?
A lot, actually.
A lot.
So, yeah. And so like, this is where, It depends on how you look at stuff. You can look at things and get scared, or you can look at things and say, okay, this is going to be what needs to happen. It's going to be great. And so what they've been showing me is sort of like reality splitting, which sounds super crazy. But they've said that essentially the Earth is going to ascend, and it means it's going to raise its frequency into another dimension, another octave. So each dimension has, I think, like 8 octaves of experience. You can call it like sort of rungs of frequency. It's more like shining a flashlight where it's super bright and then it gets a little bit darker than actual fixed things. And so the Earth is moving into like more light. And at some point in this light, everything that's, really dense and fear-based and things are going to have to go away. Like they can't sustain themselves in that much light. Light is a word that it's not just visible light. It's frequency, it's consciousness, it's awareness. The light spectrum is massive. So we think light, we think daylight. It's consciousness. And so we're going into a very high level of consciousness. It's something that the Earth has decided to do along with the sun and the cosmos, the sort of heart of God, you can call it. Everything is conscious, which, it's sort of like you talk to these channels, it sounds super crazy because like, what are you talking about? Like, it's alive. What? And it's making decisions. And it's like, yeah, actually, there is a God. Just like you can have a personality, it can too, but it can also be everything. And you're part of that. There's nothing outside of that. The light, the dark, it's all inside of God. And it's creating this experience to experience itself. Okay. And that's the whole point. Like if you were all alone in the void and there's no space, there's no nothing at some point forever, I think the craziest thing is to like create something to experience yourself. And what a crazy thing is creation. It's like the biggest party ever, and it's super nuts. And the only way that you can like have any experience like we have is to not know that you are that, right? And then you can experience yourself in all these different ways. And there's some places where you do know who you are, but you're still individualized. And there's places like Earth where you don't. And that gives you a unique experience. You don't know who you are. You don't know how many times you've done this. You don't know anything. And what would you do if you're God and didn't know you were God is the human experience, essentially. You got to start there in some ways to ask what's going to happen. And what I see what's happening is God consciousness, or this remembrance of who you are, is coming back to Earth. But it has to come back in a way where we're ready for it, at least the heart level, where we're loving and compassionate and kind. And to do that, the Earth needs to be loving, compassionate, kind, needs to sort of go to another place. And what I see is going to happen very quickly is that the people who are fearful, negative, sort of unhealthy, stuck in these really difficult patterns, they're not bad people in any way. They're sort of still focused on the story, and the story on Earth is a story of fear. It is a very fearful place. So many people will be stuck in that. And then there are these people who are awakening to more love and peace and creativity and creational type energies, who are going to self-separate anyways. And you see this already. There's your people stuck in, New York in their corporate job, like freaking out, like having like bad day every day.
Yeah.
And some of them wake up and they move out to the middle of nowhere and they're all Pachamama and they're getting blissed out and they don't even know what's going on. They haven't watched the news. They don't care any, they're with their new partner playing drums or doing something. Right? So like, you don't even hear about them. They just disappeared, right? Yeah, I remember that guy. He got all weird and went, did ayahuasca. We never heard from him again. And so the separation's sort of happening already. We don't realize it. And so what's going to happen is that's going to continue. And these two sort of camps are going to separate with really no one left in the middle is what I saw, what was shown to me. And that's going to happen very quickly in, the next 3-4 years. And after that, there's going to be a change, and we won't perceive that other half. Those people that are sort of stuck on the story and for whatever reason couldn't see that there's another way will be together. And those people who are sort of, getting blissed out will be together, and then they won't perceive each other again. And that's the new Earth and the old Earth. And so essentially it's what seems like perception at first. And then by 2030, it's like a physical separation. Everyone sort of goes their own ways, and everyone evolves to God. It's not like anyone's less than, it's just when. The question's when. So the people who are ready to ascend with where the Earth wants to go right now, they'll go with the Earth in that way. And then the people who don't or are not ready for that sort of different lifestyle, they're going to live out their life and then reincarnate, but not on Earth, somewhere else that's more conductive to them continue in their evolution towards God. So at the end of the day, like God is like a breath out into creation and a breath back in, which probably lasts billions or trillions of years. So everything comes back anyways. The question is just at what rate and through what experiences. And we're not like getting breathed back in tomorrow. This is still a very long journey back in, but that shift to God consciousness is happening now in the physical worlds. So these angelic realms have already been one with God for a very long time. And now God is expanding his consciousness into physical realms. And you hear the term like the Christ consciousness or the Buddhic consciousness.
Yes.
These are things
Even
that are
Krishna consciousness is there from the
Krishna,
Bhagavad Gita.
yeah. And what is it? It is merging the consciousness of God with physical reality. That's the enlightenment, right? That's the Christ consciousness. That's what is it? It's you're merging that remembrance and that energy, and now God is conscious in you, because God is everything, but parts of it are asleep, and now it's waking up in those parts, and that's what this is. It's like an awakening. They call it awakening for a reason. What are you awakening to? To you, man, to God, to the whole thing. And that's what is awakening in the people. And it's profound and wild, and then those sort of illusions go away, and you say that this is all kinds of stuff going on. This story is way bigger than any one story. They're all have truth in them. All the religions have truth in them. And they all sound crazy until you experience something even crazier, which is like enlightenment or samadhi, or like one of these experiences where you realize you're God in form. You're not the whole thing, but you're a tiny sliver of it, and that's pretty cool in its own.
So who do you channel?
So for me, it's mostly a group of beings that I call the Council of Light, and there's archangels in there, ascended masters, some beings from the stars, like some Pleiadians and Arcturians that are like divine.
When you channel, where does Adrian go?
So where I go is, I get into that meditative state. I sort of build you think of like your mental body is like your aura. There's like a ball around you. And what I do is I take that mental body and I start to focus it like a tube up. And I focus it on these divine beings. And when I do that, I sort of raise my consciousness and I take my consciousness up to them to meet them there. And then when it's almost like I meet them there, and there's two ways. If it's just for me, I'll just talk to them. If it's to channel for other people, I'll let them talk through me. And that's a different experience. And I sort of step aside where I'm listening, and they're using my vocabulary, they're using my body, they're using my consciousness to just stream it through. It's not like they're saying, hey, say this, and then I say it. It's happening so fast that the limitation is me. It's like a waterfall, and I'm like a tiny straw, and you guys are getting the drop. And, it's if I know something, they can speak to that to come out through me. It's really difficult to pull through things that are like completely outside of my realm of consciousness. So the more I expand, the better channeler I become, or more clear, that you can call it, or more in depth, because I have more stuff to work with. And so they're working through me like a telephone. But if Adrian doesn't know, then it takes too long for them to make me know. So it's just, it can be very basic at times. Sometimes it can be very sophisticated.
Does it look like words, geometric shapes, videos?
No, it's like a stream. It's like Netflix. It's like once I'm tapped in, it just goes.
Oh, it just keeps coming, just streaming.
Yeah, and it comes fast, and I feel my body very differently. Like it's like my senses are heightened. I'm listening a lot more. I twitch a lot. It almost feels like I'm spinning like this a little bit. It's a very physical sensation, and the stream of consciousness is very, very quick. And so for me with this council, like what happens is I can feel the energy shift, and then they tell me or you who's speaking. So okay, this is Michael, this is Mother Mary or something, this is a Pleiadian, whatever is coming through, like, and I'll feel it very strongly in my body, the shift in frequency, and my voice might change, everything could change. So like I'm sort of a multi-channel, so I can channel a lot of different beings very quickly. So that's where the council helps, because they sort of organize the whole thing. And then if somebody needs to come through, they come through.
Would the Council of Light be willing to speak to us? Are they speaking to us today?
They can be, I asked them before the call if they want to, and they said, sure.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah. So, if you want to do that, Basically, what we'll do is we'll do like a very short meditation to connect myself. I can bring through a message. It could be 1 minute, it could be 5 minutes. And then what we can do after that is open it up to questions. So once you close your eyes, take a nice big breath in through your nose. We're connected to the Council of Light. I'm going to bring through that message now. Dear ones, we are the Council of Light, and we greet you with love, we greet you with peace, we greet you with hope. We are many beings who have walked amongst you as physical humans, who love the human race, who have participated in the human race, and understand the human race well. We are also archangelics. We are angelic families who are joining this loving transmission. And indeed, we are beings from the stars who are also divine in nature and who are with the earth and are working with the earth to see the earth ascend into a higher state of consciousness. And we are pleased to be with you. We speak as one, yet we are many. We wish to speak to what is occurring upon the earth plane at this moment in time. For you are in a moment of choosing love versus fear. And this is as it should be. The world is ascending into a place of more love, of more unity, of more consciousness, of more remembrance, of the extended family you are part of beings who love you, who are from the divine, who you can consider your family. And you have heard through this, about this, through different religions, through practices and spirituality, that you are part of something greater. And this is indeed true. It has been termed that there is a kingdom that is coming to earth. There has been different religions who have seen that there's a time where spirit and the earth plane become one. And this is exactly the time that you are embarking upon a remembrance, a joining with realms of love. And this is what is coming to earth. And at this moment in time, what is being asked for the human race is to have more compassion, to have more love, to choose in each situation to see the positive, to see what is possible versus what has been and what is not possible. This is the energy that we wish to bring through to guide humanity at this moment in time, to remind you that you are all very powerful creators and that you can choose differently. The world has told you many stories that are scary, that are fearful of what may come, of what is to come after this life. And these are only stories. They're there to help guide you to choose between love and fear. And we guide you to choose this loving stories in your own life, to react lovingly to situations that unfold in your personal life and around you. For this energy will carry you into more of that energy. Like will attract like. To those who have been given, more will be given. To those who have been taken, more will be taken. This is not a judgment. It is where you choose to focus, you will expand. So if you focus on love, you will experience more love. If you focus on growth, you will experience more growth. If you focus on peace, your life will become more peaceful. You will become the attributes you focus on quicker and quicker, for the energy here is supporting this transformation. Those who focus on fear will become more fearful, and those who focus on pain will experience more painful moments. It is a very real experience that is unfolding upon the earth plane at this moment in time, and that is what we wish to remind you of, that you have a choice. With that, we open this loving transmission to your questions.
Thank you so much. What advice would you give us as individuals, especially in the Middle East, to prepare better for what is coming?
We are Michael, and we step forward on behalf of those present. We wish to speak to a certain area that you consider the Middle East. It is a very important, energetic place upon the planet. It is a place of consciousness. It is a place of extreme choice between light and dark. We do not say this as a judgment, but we say it as a fact. There is a choice being made in the Middle East at this moment in time of fear and love that is very visual. It is very real. It is very happening in the physical world. Life and death is being chosen every day in this area of the world for a reason. And it is to illuminate this choice for the rest of the world. It is important to understand that the Middle East has been chosen with great care, with great love, to go through this process in a very physical way, so that the rest of the world can experience this as well and see the choices being had. And the beings who are there going through these choices, acting this out for the rest of the world, are very powerful and very beautiful beings of love. Even those who we can determine as the enemy from one point of view, and those who term the other side as the enemy from one point of view. This physical split, this judgment that is happening there, is in the mind of humanity. It is in the story of humanity, and is being acted out in a physical way as an example for humanity. So humanity can choose love versus fear, inclusion versus exclusion, unity versus separation. There is a choice. There is a choice for the Middle East to unify. There is a choice for the Middle East to continue to separate and to fight each other. And this is what is being shown to all of humanity, and indeed all of creation at this moment in time. And this is part and the central part of the split in consciousness in humanity. It is a very important area for this reason alone.
How are the religious beliefs and that of spirituality going to change in the same region?
We are Michael again, and we step forward on behalf of many, and we're pleased with this question. As the world ascends into another level of consciousness, there will be a great healing, a healing that comes upon the planet, which will take many, many years. And in the Middle East, there will be an awakening and a remembrance that you are part of a very large divine family. This kingdom, you can call it, is a family of beings who are from the stars, but who are you. And they will be interacting with Earth as time goes on over hundreds of years. And this will change human religions dramatically. It will give meaning to them and understanding, where right now there is confusion and curiosity. Many things will have the context that they were missing over the next few hundred years. And this will be very enlightening for the Middle East and the whole world. It will be very loving and an embrace of the cosmic family that you are part of. So you will see that there is context that is missing that will come in the very near future.
Will the wars end?
We see war as something that is leaving your planet, but it is still here for the time being. It is here to show the world this split in consciousness at the most basic primal level. And it will end before 2030. It will be over for the ascended Earth. For the old Earth, it will continue and burn itself down, and those with it in that energy. But for this aspect of Earth that has decided to ascend and to move on to a higher level of consciousness, a more loving experience, they will not perceive this any longer. For them, it will have ended completely.
Does karma exist? If so, how can I clean up my bad karma?
We are Michael again, and we step forward on behalf of many. We wish to clarify and to guide you on karma. It is a word that has been given much meaning, and there are indeed lords of karma. There are indeed infrastructures within the divine to assist souls on their evolutionary path. And this can be considered a type of energy that you can call karma. But we see it in the terms that you use today more as inertia, as movement, as a story that is continuing. And as every good story, you like to see it, you as an individual, be finished. And that is what karma is. There is a story that is happening that is bigger than one lifetime in your personal journey, and it continues on along with those who are involved in the story until that story is completed. And what you have been guided on, the stopping of karma, is on the remembrance that you are in control, that you are part of the story, and you are able to change the story. And it is through forgiveness and letting go that many types of what you can consider dense or negative karma can be instantly resolved. Just as you forgive a friend and let it go, you can forgive the stories that have continued on lifetime after lifetime to let it go, and it is let go instantly, and the karma ends right then and there. And there is a process now of this moment in time of many choosing to just let it go, to surrender to God, to forgive themselves, the Creator, and all the people who have hurt them in this lifetime and other lifetimes, to just forgive, to let that story stop. And that is part of the awakening. That is part of the healing. You sense that there are individuals who are awakening and they're healing their lineage. They're healing themselves. What are they healing in particular? They are letting go of the stories, letting go of the fights, letting go of the anger, letting go of the sadness, letting go of the pain that has been going on for generations within their own lineage, within their own family line, within themselves, within their friends and family in this lifetime. They're letting it go. They're healing it by forgiving it one by one or all at once. That is actually what is occurring. And that is healing the physical body, because you are a reflection of how you feel deep inside of you. And so that is what is actually occurring, and that is how you stop this karma. But it is not a judgment. It is not a penalty. It is a continuation of your own individual story. Okay, and some people have very difficult stories which continue until they resolve them. Okay, and some people have very positive stories which continue on and on until they decide to have a different experience. So this is what is occurring.
What is the role of social media in the Great Awakening?
We are Michael again. We step forward on behalf of those present. Social media at this time is a tool to help awaken the collective consciousness. Technology was seeded to the human collective to facilitate this moment in time, to help connect humanity in multitudes of ways that information could flow freely between humanity. It is a divine technology used in many ways for things that are destructive and not so divine in nature. But there is an aspect of it that is very divine, and that is the human connection piece. And this connecting technology that has been given to humanity is there to ensure that humanity awakens on time. And that is indeed what is occurring, because there is much information and control in all types of media, including social media, to keep consciousness in check in some ways. But it is impossible to control fully in the light. And we call the light the individuals who are spreading information that is loving and peaceful and constructive to humanity is expanding very, very quickly. People are becoming more loving, not less loving. They're becoming more conscious, not less conscious. The world is becoming a better place, not a worse place, but you have been gatekeeped in some way that the media, that is not controlled by the divine, by the way, is there to tell you a different story, to suppress consciousness. But the facts is that humanity is more loving. You see these beautiful videos of people loving animals and cats and dogs and whales in the ocean and dolphins and all these beautiful things, and babies and friends and family and positive messages all over social media. It is not just spiritual content. It is uplifting information, remembrance that we're part of a family, a human family, a global family. And that is part of the awakening itself as well. And then there are channels and people who are bringing through positive information, very specific information as well. And this will continue to increase, and it cannot be suppressed, for that is the nature of social media. And this will continue on until the awakening is completed, until everyone has chosen what energies that they support. And that is where the role of social media and technology in general is here for. It's here to facilitate a collective consciousness in a way that you can perceive.
How will money and work change in the future?
We're Michael again. We see money and we see work changing dramatically in the coming years. From now to about 2027 in the Western world, it will continue on as it is, and it will continue to change. In many ways, it will soften. There are those who are changing their companies to be more forgiving, to be more inclusive of families, to let people work remotely, things like this. And jobs will become more focused on technology and AI and consciousness and providing better service to humanity. And there will be types of jobs that will become more dense as well. who will demand more from their employees and such. And this will continue on to about 2027. We see in 2027 a shift in the way technology is used or not used. There will be times where much of the technology is not working in many ways in the Western world, which will cause a complete disruption in how we work. And that will, for many, be the end of work and the start of something new, of collaboration, of helping each other in a very different way. And other parts of the world will carry on in working the way that they have, but in a more loving way, and helping each other a lot more. So work will continue for quite some time, but it will be very different. And compensation for the work in what you term money will continue for quite some time, but that will also change. This accumulation of money that we are so focused on in the material world will change dramatically. Money will still have importance, but it will not be as important as your network, as your friends and family, as your local community. For things will go from a global economy, as they have been, which was there to serve the awakening, but after this moment, we'll go to a local economy to serve the community. That awakening that was global will now become local and very personal. And that is what's going to happen for the foreseeable future. This great shift is coming.
What is the role of AI in the Great Awakening?
We are Michael again, and we speak on behalf of Benny. The role in AI at this moment in time is to assist humanity in many ways. There will be much change that is coming to eliminate work, essentially. And the AI will take this on to eliminate many jobs and many positions. And why we see this as a negative, you must understand there is a world coming where no one needs to work to survive. And that is what we wish for humanity. We wish to see a world that is peaceful and loving, that does not need you to toil for subsistence to live. To work, yes, to better humanity, to better yourself, to create upon the earth plane in a beautiful way, but not to work because you need it to eat. And as we transition to this world of no work, the jobs must begin to disappear before they are forced to disappear. And AI is there to assist this, for as we consider this change is inevitable, it is coming, for the energy no longer supports the world as it is today, where everyone is working to survive and only a few at the very top can benefit from this work. It's a very different system that is coming. There's still work, but it is there to serve humanity. But in this transitional period, there will be many that lose their jobs, but humanity needs to continue on, and this is where AI assists us. It helps us become more creative, it helps us to fill the gap, and it helps us to think more about consciousness, to ask deeper questions as we see what something that appears to be fully conscious and super conscious, perhaps, take form upon the earth plane. It will raise a lot of questions about what is consciousness. And this is as it should be. Now, after this 2027 moment to 2030, a lot of this consciousness will fade away, okay? And the human consciousness will be back in the driver's seat in some ways. Okay, so this is on this ascended earth. On this old earth, it will continue on. And it will continue on a path until that old earth is no longer relevant. But for this ascended earth, it is a remembrance. It is a reunion. It is technology as well. It's just different type of technology. Okay.
Thank you so much. Will there be open contact with the ETs, like what is predicted?
We are Michael, and we speak on behalf of many who you would consider are also ET in nature. We see this as phased, as there is contact now. There are beings upon the earth plane, humans, who are having contact with extraterrestrials as we speak. But it is not widely accepted, not widely known. And in the coming years, this will accelerate, but it will also not be widely accepted or widely known. And after this transition point, it will be more open contact, but also this layer of communication will be disrupted in some ways in some countries. And This contact that is occurring will not be widely known. But for those local communities that are ready for such contact, it will be very open, very physical contact in some ways. But it will not be widely known or widely shared. And that will happen not everywhere. It will happen only in specific places, and only when needed. And this will continue on for many, many years. This open contact where the whole world is being integrated into this divine infrastructure with divine technology, which you consider some of them are what you would see as spacecraft and things as such, is hundreds of years in the future, where it is completely integrated and there is an open civilization between humans and other divine races from the stars. But this contact is happening now, and it will continue to accelerate and accelerate. And humanity by 2030 and beyond will know that this is real and will understand that it is here, but they will not have much experience with it in the day to day. That is only going to be reserved for those beings who are working upon the earth plane to implement this divine infrastructure slowly with time.
What advice would you give parents who are raising their children at this moment in time?
We are Michael, and we're pleased with this question. We would encourage parents to love their children as they should, but to create this space that is loving, that is a place of growth, to not be so hard on them. You must understand that you are there as a guide. These are souls, and at this moment in time, very advanced souls who are incarnated upon the earth plane for the human experience and to serve the future human collective. And you are their shepherd, you are their guide. You do not own them. You are here to guide them, to help them, to introduce them to the human experience in the best way possible. So we would keep that in mind, and we would encourage you to keep that in mind, to create that safe space for them to expand and a loving space for them to explore and to share what you have learned in your human experience with them from the most loving perspective possible. For the world that they are moving into, while at this moment in time can seem dense and scary, is a world of love. For that is why they have come.
How can I surrender myself wholeheartedly to my soul's purpose when I'm stuck with the daily human endeavors and mortgages and financial troubles or addictions?
We are the Christ consciousness, we are the Buddhic consciousness, and we join as one and we speak as one, and we're pleased with this question. Know that this world has many demands upon you at this moment in time. You are in the great illusion, an illusion of choice, a conundrum of choice, of multiplicity and options all around you. And the only guiding truth is within you. We encourage you to go within and to focus, to calm the mind, and to begin to think about what you wish to experience in this world and to go and follow that, to understand that that is your North Star, and to begin to tune out all the noise around you. The world is going to continue to demand much from you and more as time goes on until this shift occurs. And this is as it should be. But with this internal compass, you will notice that you're being guided towards more loving careers, more loving options, more loving perspectives. And we encourage you to follow that, to go within and do not look outside of yourself, to believe what you believe, to focus on yourself, and to step into your own power, which is your ability to create, which is your ability to choose, which is your ability to think clearly and to choose your own thoughts. This world is bombarding you with other people's ideas, many contradictory to themselves. You are the compass. It is your life, and you are in control of it. It is important to take that control, and meditation is a tool to go within and to step into your power very gently. And we encourage this.
How can we meditate better?
We are the divine consciousness who speaks through this channel. We are the multiplicities. We are the children of light. We are one, and we speak as one with the assistance of this council. There have been many worlds who have ascended, who have gone through what you are going through. And it is very noisy before the ascension takes place, very chaotic, for all experiences must be experienced, all feelings must be seen. All ideas must be manifested, and that is what is occurring around you, both light and dark types of ideas within and without you in the human collective, in your case, are being manifested and experienced. It is very chaotic. So this moment of meditation, it can be many different ways. It could be a walk in nature by yourself, and it could be to be with your own thoughts. It can be to sit silently in a part of your house that is quiet, and to just breathe and focus on the breath and go within and focus on your heart center in the center of your chest, and just see a beautiful light expanding with each breath in the center of your chest, and to rest your consciousness here until the noise of the world begins to drop away. There are many techniques, but they all serve to quiet the mind, to quiet the heart. And when you find these quiet places, when you can tune into them and you feel comfortable in them, you can begin to imagine and to dream your life, for that is what you are doing. But it is being influenced by the chaotic energies and the dreams of others around you. We urge you to focus on your own personal dream, your own divine dream. And this happens in the quietness of your heart. So we would focus there through the breath, through the heart, through a quiet space in your home or out in nature, if you can do this for yourself. Whenever you find the time, this will be of great assistance to you, and to understand that the world is going to be in this chaotic state, and not to judge it as wrong or right. It is neutral. It is, and it will be this way until it is not. Okay, we hope that has helped you.
Thank you. That has. What was the core message of Jesus?
We are the Christ consciousness, and we step forward on behalf of many masters who have embodied this consciousness throughout time, not only here upon the earth plane, but throughout creation. And we're so pleased that you have asked this question on this day. We are here as your brothers and sisters. We are here as those who have walked the path before you, and to have shown you somehow in our way a type of way to look at the world differently, to be more loving, to be more forgiving, to have a remembrance that you come from something royal and divine. You come from a lineage of great beings who are loving, and this is the truth. Whatever religion you are does not matter. You are part of a cosmic, divine family of love that is connected to the heart of God, that streams through all of these divine beings in their own way. And the message has been and will always be that of love, and that of inclusion, and that of family, that you are part of some divine family bigger than yourself. And we are the messengers, we are the brothers and sisters, we are you. We are not separate from you, we are not better than you, we are you. And we have always asked for you to remember this, to remember that you are part of something beautiful. And that is the message, to treat others as you would treat yourself, because they are you in one way or another. To forgive others, for they do not know what they do, for they are in the illusion. Correct? Forgive them, for you are forgiven yourself. Okay? These messages have come time and time again. They have come through the Christ in the form of Jesus. They have come through the Buddha. They have come through many great masters upon the earth plane in one way or another, in a way that humanity could understand them at the time that they were in. Okay? But it was always the same. You have a choice. You can choose love. You can choose family. You can choose creative energies. You can choose to be part of something bigger than yourself. And this is the choice that is upon humanity again. And it is the only choice throughout creation over and over. There is a choice between separation and fear, and there's a choice between unity and family and love. And it is told in many different dialects, in many different ways, upon many different planes of existence. But it is the same story in many different flavors. And we are pleased to have given you this information.
Thank you for this information. Would we be able to connect with you the same way Adrian is doing it?
We are Michael, and we're pleased with this question. The answer is, of course. Everyone is connected to their own higher self, and their higher self is connected to the divine, if they so choose to call this in and make it part of their experience. We believe that we are disconnected beings, that we are not part of God, that there is no God, or if there is a God, it is very judgmental and fearful. This is not true. All of creation is God, From the plants and animals you see around you, to the space and the cosmos, it is all God. To the darkest of the devils and the saints with the brightest light, it is all one. It is all God. And you are as well. You are all an aspect of it. It is all there to experience self. And you are here to experience self and to choose your own path, to choose your own identity, to choose your own experience, to think for yourself and feel for yourself. And this is beautiful. And you are connected to all of this infrastructure, all of this consciousness, light and dark. And if you wish to work with the divine in the way that this channel has, to call them forth, to call forth these deities of love that you are most close to ask them to participate in your life, to speak with you in the quiet of your mind, in the quiet of your heart while you're in meditation, to form a practice of connecting with them, and to realize that the surrender to the divine, the surrender to God, is only a surrender to the highest aspects of your own self. You cannot run from yourself. You cannot go outside of yourself, for there is nowhere to go. You are running towards God at all times, whether you want to or not, whether you are in denial of this fact or not. It is okay. And you can play in that realm of not choosing not to believe. And this is sanctioned. It is okay. And at one point, you will want to know more. And when you feel this, you can begin to know more. You begin to see that you're part of a divine dream, a divine illusion. And all of creation is an illusion of self, an illusion of family, but it is for a very important reason. It is to experience love, to experience a calm and peacefulness within eternity. And it's very beautiful. With that, we are complete, and we leave this love and transmission. We are pleased to have spoken to all of you today, and we make our withdrawal from this channel.
How do you feel?
Good. It's a lot of energy, so it takes me a minute to sort of come back to me, but yeah.
That was beautiful. Do you remember what you said?
I remember most of it, but it fades like a dream. So like if you asked me in 10 minutes, I probably wouldn't remember most of it. At this moment in time, yeah, I can sort of remember it. I can still sort of feel that energy, here a little bit, but it's when, when it's here, it's a lot. And then it sort of goes back to where it came from.
Yeah, I felt like I was speaking to someone wise, obviously. That was beautiful. The message was beautiful. It's something that the people here had to hear. Do you have any final message for us here?
Just for me, it's just like there's a lot going on, and it's we are so free. And that's the thing. We are in this world where everything feels as if we're not, but it's not true. We're free at all times. So that's the thing, and choices have consequences, and it's all very real here, it's high and mighty and pie in the sky sometimes. And it's like, yeah, do whatever you want, but there's consequences to that. That's a very real thing, but that's what freedom is. Freedom has consequences. So we're moving into a world where we get to choose a lot of things that are very powerful. And, I hope people choose love and forgiveness, and even in the face of things that are very difficult. I think that's the path forward. So that's all I have to add.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adrian. Lastly, where can we find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at awakenworldig, and on the website awaken.world. So www.awaken.world. So not .com, it's just .world. There's some, meditations that are shared. There's a free class to learn how to sort of connect with your higher self and these beings that I connect with. So it's there for free. You take it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Adrian. It was such a pleasure having you here and speaking to us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. Click on one of the videos to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.